Hello everyone, this is Brian with ZimCo Survival and I'm back again today. This one is a 1-year update video and it is a video on this knife. Now those of you guys who watched my video on this knife know that it was pretty critical because of concerns that I had with it. Now for those of you guys who didn't watch it, this is the Mora Pathfinder. One of Mora's longest knives. They have another knife that is just as long as this, but this is their Bushcraft version. I bought this knife for my wife because I wasn't going to purchase it because of the length of the blade and the partial tang. Now, and I have seen people who have broken these knives. So I wasn't particularly happy about it and didn't want to buy it. So basically, I bought it for her and decided to go ahead and use it on and off with my other big knife, which is the BK7, and test it out and see how it would fare over a longer period of time. And to be brutally honest with you, I've changed my opinions on this knife. I still prefer my BK7 because it fits my hands better, but this one is pretty surprising in what it's capable of. So let me go ahead and pull it out of the sheath. This right here is the Mora Pathfinder. For you guys that aren't familiar with this knife, you'll know, well, you won't know, but this knife is essentially a Bushcraft Black made longer. It has the exact same handle as a Bushcraft Black, which is very comfortable in the hand. Like I said, with my larger knives though, I do prefer a larger grip, like the BK7 has. The blade length on this is 6.75 inches, so it's not a full 7-inch knife, but it is really close. And if you take a tape measure, you'll get an idea of just how long this blade is. You know, it is a substantial blade. Now, the blade thickness is 3.2 millimeters, just exact same thickness as the Bushcraft Black. And the grind is a Scandi grind, but it isn't a true Scandi. It does have a secondary bevel, like all of their other bushcrafting style knives. Now, their Bushcraft knives, unlike other knife manufacturers, is blued rather than coated in some kind of polymer paint or whatever else, like the BK7, which I do like about these knives versus the BK series, because the BK uses a coating on it that has to be removed, in my opinion. It's just too tacky. But this knife has a nice bluing to it, and believe it or not, the finish over the course of a year hasn't really diminished that much. Now some of you guys are going to say, well, you haven't used this knife because there's no sharpening marks along here. I haven't had to sharpen this knife. That's why it's not sharpened. That's why the bluing is still there, because I have not had to sharpen it, which is kind of funny. Normally, over the course of a year, you've got to sharpen a knife at least once, but this particular one has survived very, very well. Now, it's not as sharp as it used to be, but it's not at a point where it has to be sharpened. So I'm going to let it go and see how long it takes before it reaches a point where I need to sharpen it. But just a very, very quick review. The knife is a little bit on the heavy side. It is not properly balanced because of the partial tang here. It does have a tendency, you see where the balance point is right here? The balance point on a knife should be right about there. So it is heavy towards the blade. I would not chop with this knife. I've tried. It doesn't do a particularly good job at it. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about how it's held up over the course of a year. And as you can see, it's still in one piece, which is definitely a good thing. The blade has not become loose whatsoever within the handle. So overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with it. And it does a very good job at what it's supposed to do. Now, somewhere out here, I have a toothpick. Somewhere. There it is. To show you guys how well it does with feather sticking. Now, I normally use a 4-inch knife for small tasks, except for the BK7 every now and then when that's the only knife I bring with me. But this knife actually does a better job at feather sticking. For a big knife, it's actually very good at small tasks, which I'm kind of happy about. I mean, you don't find large knives like this that are actually good at small tasks. So here's my feather stick, my little toothpick here. I'm going to go ahead and feather stick this for you. try to anyway, so that I can show you guys just how effective this knife is at fine tasks. Now, unfortunately, with toothpicks, you can't get those really nice curls that you do with larger sticks, so you'll just have to bear with me on that. Let's see if I can get it focused a little bit better for you. With a 6.7 inch, 6.75 inch knife. Got a nice little feather stick there. So, I have used this knife quite a bit over the course of the year. Like I said, it's been switched on and off between my BK7 and this one. And I have to say, I've been impressed with it. The more I batoned with it, the more confident I became in its ability to withstand it. Now keep in mind, I don't baton anything ridiculous with this knife. 2.5, 3 inches maybe. But, and it's handled that pretty well. I haven't had any problems with it. The grip is holding up very well. No damage there. In general, I've actually been really surprised. So I had to take back my other review on this because I was really concerned with it being partial tang and, you know, how it would actually survive through a heavier use out in the woods, and it withstood it very, very well. Even the coating, you can see the wear marks on there, but even the coating has held up very well. Just overall, a great knife. Now the price is still a little high in my opinion, but I understand why. You know, it's harder to manufacture a longer blade from a tempering point of view and a knife making point of view. The longer the blade, the more work goes into it. So I can understand why the price has to be higher. I'm still, you know, not too keen on it. I think the price could sit around $50, $50, $60. But I also noticed that a lot of Mora's bushcrafting knives have started going up in price. Bushcraft Black, for example, used to be in the 30s for the survival one, and now it's in the 50s and 60s. So it seems to me like Mora is trying to kind of gouge pricing a little bit based on the reputation they have, where before they used to be known for really good knives at a decent price. They've started raising their prices on these outdoors bushcraft knives way above what they used to be, and I think they're trying to ride their reputation and get as much money as possible out of people. So in my opinion, I could see paying $60, but I still think that's a little bit high. That's just my opinion. But as far as the knife quality goes, no matter what you pay for it, it is definitely a quality knife. You know, if you're willing to pay whatever the price is, more power to you. And you're definitely going to get a knife that is going to make you happy. So my general opinion on the Mora Pathfinder, it's a 5 out of 5 at this point. I've put the year on it. I have used it for pretty much everything that I would use a knife like this for. Batoning, doing my wood prep, even feather sticking. I mean, I've used it pretty extensively. I've cleaned some fish with it. I've used it the way a knife should be used, and I haven't had any problems. So at this point, I'm gonna have to take back my other review and say that it is in fact an acceptable knife, even with its length and being partial tang. The only thing I don't like about it at this point is the weight being so far up here. It feels kind of heavy in that direction. I don't necessarily like that as much. So I still prefer my BK7 because of the size of the handle and it's more balanced. But that's just personal preference. If you don't care about that, then it's not going to matter to you one way or the other. But yeah, it's a great knife. I have to give it a good rating. I've been very impressed with it. The only thing that I still don't like, that isn't the knife itself. The knife is great, but I'm not a fan of the sheath. I really wish that Mora had created, they're more of a standard plastic sheath to go with this, rather than this. I find this to be very cheap. Even the Mora emblem right here, is peeling up, and I'm not a fan, but that's just my opinion. The sheath, in my opinion, is still garbage. I don't like it. It doesn't even have a clip down there at the bottom to lock the molly webbing thing down. So, but again, that's my opinion. If you don't care about that, it's not going to matter to you. But there you go. That's my review. Well, update. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and have a great night. Bye-bye.